So we've really built Elisa now to be achievable from small venues to extremely large venues using the same single processor.
Yeah, the L-Acoustics Elisa system has really given us the opportunity to embrace the massive amount of sound inputs, density of sound that comes out, but it's given us the ability to do it in a way that has more clarity and in a way that is really a better experience for who comes to the church. The conversation started with me and the senior pastor in 2019 about coming on and being a part of what they were doing here at Concord. And part of that conversation was we need to renovate our worship center. The building was built in 1998, and it was built for piano and organ and choir, nothing more than that. So it was a conversation of, hey, we're moving this direction as far as how we feel modern or all those things, but we want to keep all the things that choir and orchestra, all those additional sorts of things. So the conversation became, okay, how do we make the room sound better for those things? So, with all the instruments that we have, I like to call it the wall of sound. There's a ton of sound that comes off, a ton of energy that happens. And we were in a completely untreated room with, some older PA hangs that, were at the end of their life of, good sound in any capacity. And so really it came down to how do we get the best sound with the PA as well as room treatment? And so we kind of approached it, how do we tackle those things at the same time? And then that kind of got us to where we were going to be. The way we kind of attacked it is we treated the entire backstage wall and ceiling above, which is about a 40-foot high ceiling. And I mean, I'm telling you that the significant difference, even from just standing on stage and talking from treated to untreated was just, it was amazing. It really was. And it really set up like, man, we're really going to be able to really hear the PA in the best possible way. We're not going to be stuck fighting with these frequencies because we've fixed this problem to give us more freedom on the back end. In the process, when Luke and I and Solotech were talking, we kind of were like, well, hey, what makes sense for what this is? And then they said, hey, this immersive type system really is going to give us a lot of options and opportunities. So we demoed some stuff, we listened to some stuff, we did a lot of research on it. I really came to the conclusion to me like this just makes the most sense for what we're doing. So it wasn't something that I was necessarily 100% familiar with going into the process. It wasn't something that I was looking for.
The conversation really surrounded, we want immersive object-based sound. We love L-Acoustics. That's the direction we want to go. What would you guys suggest for us looking at this? And I think, they knew at that point, and most people are getting to the point where they understand that Elisa can solve some problems. And one of those is sightline issues. And for Concord, they have this choir. They have times where they're doing choir and orchestra and full vocal team and piano. But they're also doing another service that is highly dynamic, and that's all much more rock-driven, high impact.
As far as sightlines in the room, it actually got better because we had more hangs, but smaller hangs. So we had more room for sightlines as far as hitting our LED wall for IMAG and any other sort of thing, because it was just, there was less, we didn't have to go down as far because the spread was better. A lot of times when you work at a multi-generational church, you hear feedback from both sides. It's too loud, it's too soft. But I can say, that noise, if you will, has significantly been reduced. The amount of complaints or critiques, whatever you want to call them, they've kind of come down. And it's kind of been like, hey, it's just more pleasant experience because, this is always my heart is what we do on Sundays is not about anything except, pushing the gospel forward. So we can become a distraction-free environment when we can literally just disappear into the background and let what's happening in the room happen in the room, and people aren't thinking this is too loud, this is too soft, or I can't hear in this seat, but the other seat I can. They're just focused on what's happening in the room. So we're able to disappear into the background and just let the Lord lead. And that's one thing that really sold the whole idea to me of, hey, we can do this in a way that's going to make less distractions. It's going to make an easier worship experience for people to come in where they're not focused on production, they're focused on just the Lord. And that was a huge selling point for us in it.
The real benefit when we start talking about things like orchestra and choir is those things are very complicated to mix. Anybody who has been part of had an opportunity to mix a choir and orchestra, it's not as simple as just walking up and pushing faders. And to be able to create space in a mix when you have a full orchestra and a large choir that's mic'd with multiple mics, it gets to be a real challenge. And Elisa really opens up the ability because now we can create spatialization, right? We can hear parts of the choir that are happening, and we don't have to do so much dynamics and EQ to make space for that.
Yeah, so I will say, with the Elisa system, yeah, there definitely has been how do I put this? Like it has become easier to mix with. Once you get past the initial learning curve of this is not just a pan knob right and left, you really have the ability to shape and create a sound that you can't get just from a traditional PA system with a left, right, center.
Where it really holds a huge amount of value in the house of worship industry is that ability to connect. And when we walk into a room and we see pastor speaking and we localize that audio in the same place, all of a sudden it doesn't feel like a loudspeaker system is there.
Sometimes when you explore new technologies and you explore new avenues, it really expands your horizon, expands your ability to think and process things. So you get better at your craft, and you also just increase and improve the environments that exist.